Have you ever heard the story of two babies left to die in a river? Not just one, but two. They had no home, no parents, and no future. But something happened. Something no one could believe. A wild animal found them. A wolf. And she did not hurt them. She saved them. She gave them milk. She kept them warm. And she raised them as her own. This is not a fairy tale. This is the beginning of Romith, most powerful empire in history. But it did not begin with kings or soldiers. It began with two small boys, a river, and a wolf. In this story, you will see how two brothers changed the world, how love turned into conflict, and how pain gave birth to greatness. You will see fear, hope, anger, and courage. And maybe you will see yourself too. Because this is also a story about starting small, making mistakes, and building something strong. So, before we go into battles, those cities and emperors, let's go back. Back to the river. Back to the day everything began. Let's meet the boys Romulus and Remus. Long ago, in a city called Alba Longa, there was a king named Amulius. He was not kind. He took power from his own brother and was afraid someone would take it back. So when his niece had two baby boys, Twinch gave a terrible order. "Throw them in the river," he said. "Let the water take them away." The twins were placed in a small basket. The river was fast and cold. No one believed they would survive. But the basket did not sink. It floated. It moved with the water, past trees, rocks, and birds. The wind was soft. The sky was quiet. Then the basket stopped near the trees. A large animal came closer. It was a she-wolf. She had strong eyes and a warm body. She looked at the babies, then did something no one expected. She took them in. She gave them milk. She stayed beside them. Day and night. The boys grew stronger. They did not cry much. They listened to the wind, the birds, and the heartbeat of the wolf. She was not their mother, but she gave them life. And sometimes that is enough. Later, a man named Faustulus found the boys. He was a shepherd. He lived in a small house near the woods. He took them home and raised them as his sons. He gave them names, Romulus and Remus. They ran in the fields, played near the river, and helped care for the sheep. They were strong. They were brave. And they were always together. They did not know where they came from, but they knew they were different. They felt it in their hearts. This is how their real story began, not with gold or power, but with nature, with kindness, and with a choice. To live, even when the world said they shouldn't. Now, let's see what happens when the truth finally finds them. Romulus and Remus did not grow up like other boys. Their first teacher was not a person. It was a wolf. From her, they learned to be strong, to listen, and to survive. The forest was their home. The sound of leaves in the wind was their music. The stars were their light. But one day, a man named Faustulus walked near the river. He saw two boys playing beside the wolf. He was shocked. But something in his heart said, "These boys need me." So he brought them home. His wife gave them warm food and soft blankets. They smiled, and for the first time, they were safe. Faustulus was poor but kind. He taught them to work, to share, and to think. They helped him take care of sheep. They ran in the fields, climbed trees, and watched the sky. They did not have gold or books, but they had love, and that was enough. Romulus was quiet. He watched everything. He liked to build things with sticks and stones. Remus was louder. He laughed a lot and loved to race with the wind. They were different, but always close. The other children in the village liked them. But sometimes people whispered, "Where did these boys come from? Why are they so strong, so wild?" Romulus and Remus asked their father Faustulus, "Who are we?" But he just smiled and said, "One day you will understand." Still, in their hearts, the boys felt something, a voice, deep inside, that said, "You were born for more." They did not know it yet, but their blood was royal, their future was big, and soon the truth would come. A truth that could change everything. Because no matter how far you run, the past always finds a way to return. Let's follow the boys as they take their first step toward that truth. One day, when Romulus and Remus were young men, they went to the city. They helped some farmers in a fight. But during the fight, Remus was caught. The guards thought he was a thief. They took him to the king of Alba Longa. Romulus followed. He wanted to save his brother. But something happened. Something that changed everything. An old man looked at the boys. He looked at their faces, their eyes, the way they walked. Then he said slowly, "You are not just boys from the forest. You are the sons of Rhea Silvia. You are the grandsons of King Numitor." The boys were shocked. "Is this true?" they asked. The old man nodded. He was Numitor, their real grandfather. He told them the story. A long time ago, his brother Amulius took the crown. He sent Rhea Silvia to a temple so she could not have children. But the gods had other plans. She gave birth to twins. Amulius was afraid. He told his men to throw the babies into the river. He thought they died, but they lived. Romulus and Remus stood in silence. Their hands shook. Their hearts beat fast. All this time, they had lived a lie. Their real family was taken from them. Their names, their past, their future stolen. Romulus looked at his brother. "We cannot stay quiet," he said. Remus nodded. "It's time to act." But they did not scream. They did not fight. They waited. They made a plan. They would help their grandfather become king again. Because now they knew who they were. They were not just boys. They were part of something bigger. And deep inside, they felt this was only the beginning. Let's see what happens when the boys return, not as orphans, but as heirs to the throne. Romulus and Remus left the hills and walked back to the city of Alba Longa. This time, they were not just two boys. They were grandsons of a king, and they had a mission. They did not bring swords. They did not bring fire. They brought the truth. At the city gate, the guards looked at them with wide eyes. People on the street turned and whispered, "Who are they? Why do they look like the old king?" The boys walked slowly, calmly, like they belonged there. They met with friends of Numitor. They spoke to the people. They told the story of their birth, of the river, the wolf, and the lie. They told how Amulius stole the crown and tried to kill them. At first, many people did not believe them, but then they looked into the eyes of the boys. They saw something true, something strong. Then Numitor stepped forward. He raised his hand and said, "These are my grandsons. They are the sons of Rhea Silvia, the true blood of this city." The people gasped. They remembered the old king. They remembered Rhea Silvia, and slowly they began to cheer. But King Amulius was afraid. He shouted, "Lies! Arrest them!" But no one moved. The guards looked away. The people stood in silence. Then one soldier dropped his sword. Another opened the palace gate. Amulius turned pale. He had lost more than power. He had lost the hearts of his people. Romulus and Remus did not need to fight. The truth was, their weapon, the people, were their army. Soon after, Amulius was taken away. Numitor, the kind and true king, sat on the throne again. Romulus and Remus stood beside him. The city was quiet, peaceful, but the boys did not want to stay. They looked at the hills in the distance. Romulus said, "Our place is not here." Remus smiled. "Let's build something new." They had taken back the past. Now they were ready to shape the future. Let's follow them as they leave the city and search for a place to build their dream. The city of Alba Longa was calm again. King Numitor sat on the throne. People smiled in the streets. The fear was gone. Romulus and Remus stood beside their grandfather. He said, "This is your home. You can stay here. One day, this city will be yours." But the brothers looked at each other. They did not feel at home. The city was not their dream. It was their past. "We are thankful," Romulus said, "but we want something different." "We want to build," Remus added, "a place of our own, a new city, a new beginning." Numitor did not stop them. He hugged them and said, "Go. Follow your dream. But remember who you are." So the brothers said goodbye. They walked into the hills once more. This time, they were not lost. They knew their story. They knew their strength. Justice was done. Amulius was gone. Their grandfather was safe. But in their hearts, they felt something more. They did not want power. They wanted purpose. As they walked through fields and trees, they looked at the land. The sun was low. The wind was soft. Romulus pointed to a hill. "Maybe here," he said. Remus looked around. "Or there," he said, pointing to a different hill. They both smiled. But inside, something was starting. A small feeling of mine and yours. They did not know it yet. But this feeling would grow. It would lead to a fight. A deep one. For now, they were still together. Two brothers with one dream. But dreams can break when pride walks in. Let's follow them as they search for the perfect place and face a choice that would change their lives forever. Romulus and Remus walked for many days. They crossed rivers, fields, and forests. They looked at hills, rocks, and open land. They were looking for one thing, a place to build their city. One day, they stopped. The sun was high. The grass moved in the wind. Birds flew above them. The land was quiet and strong. "This is it," Remus said, pointing to a hill. "The Aventine Hill. It's perfect." Romulus looked around. He did not speak. Then he pointed to another hill. "That one," he said. "The Palatine Hill. It feels right." Remus laughed. "No, this one is better. It has more space." Romulus shook his head. "But that one is higher. It's safer." For the first time, the brothers did not agree. They both had a vision, and they both thought they were right. They tried to talk, but words turned sharp. Smiles faded. "I will build on my hill," Romulus said. "Then I will build on mine," Remus replied. They turned away from each other. Two brothers, two hills, two dreams. They did not fight with hands, not yet. But inside, a storm had started. Sometimes, the biggest fights do not come from hate. They come from love, from two people who want the same thing, but in different ways. And when no one gives in, something must break. Let's follow them to the next day, the day the walls began, and the bond between them began to fall. Romulus woke up early. The sky was gray. The wind was quiet. He walked to the Palatine Hill and picked up a stick. Slowly, he drew a line in the dirt. "This is the wall," he said. "This is where Rome will begin." He worked all morning. He carried rocks. He built a small wall, just one step, but it was real. Remus stood on the other hill. He watched in silence. Then he laughed. "Is that a wall?" he said. "I can jump over it." Romulus stopped. He looked at his brother. His face did not move, but his eyes changed. Remus walked closer. He smiled, but the smile was sharp. Then he jumped over the wall. "It's not strong," he said. "It's just dirt." Romulus picked up a stone. His hand shook. "Don't do that again," he said. But Remus laughed again. He turned his back. And in that moment, something broke. Romulus threw the stone. It hit Remus. He fell. The world stopped. The birds flew away. The wind blew harder. Romulus stood still. His heart felt cold. He walked to Remus and knelt beside him. "Why?" he whispered. "Why did you laugh?" But Remus could not answer. Romulus stayed there until night. He had killed his own brother. Not because he wanted to, but because pride spoke louder than love. The next morning, he stood up. He looked at the wall, the line in the dirt, the place where the fight ended. And he made a choice. He would not run. He would not stop. He would build the city. But something inside him was gone. Let's follow Romulus as he builds Rome alone. Romulus stood on the Palatine Hill. The wind touched his face. His eyes were tired. but his hands were ready. He picked up a stone. He placed it on the ground, then another, and another. "I will build," he said. "This city will rise." Each day he worked alone. He carried rocks. He dug the earth. He shaped the wall. People came. They watched him. They asked, "What is this place?" Romulus answered, "It's Rome." They stayed. Some were poor. Some had no home. Some had no name. But Romulus welcomed them. "Here, you can start again," he said. "Here, we build a new life." Tents became houses. Paths became roads. The hill became a village. Children laughed. Fires burned at night. A city was being born. But Romulus never smiled for long. He remembered Remus, the empty space beside him, the sound of his voice now gone. Still, he built. Because that's what Remus wanted too, a place to belong. He walked the streets. He helped others. He listened. And little by little, the pain inside him became something else strength. Rome did not rise in one day. It rose with each person, each story, each stone. Romulus was not just building walls, he was building hope. Let's follow him as the city grows and faces a new challenge: how to become a real home for all. Rome was growing. More people came. They built houses, made food, and started families. But something was missing: women. Without women, there could be no future. Romulus sent messages to nearby villages. "Come to our city," he said. "Let's live together in peace." But the villages said no. They did not trust Rome. They did not want to lose their daughters. Romulus was sad. He looked at his people. "We need families," he said. "We need children." So he made a plan. He invited the Sabines, a strong and proud tribe, to a big festival. Music played, food was shared, everyone danced and laughed. But during the party, Romulus gave a signal. The Roman men took the Sabine women and kept them in the city. The Sabine men were angry. They prepared for war. The women cried. They missed their families. But over time, something changed. The Roman men treated them with kindness. They gave them homes, respect, and love. The women began to care for their new families. They saw a different side of Rome. When the Sabine army came to fight, the women stood between both sides. "No more war," they said. "We are daughters of Sabine, but now we are also wives of Rome. If you fight, you hurt us." The men dropped their weapons. They listened. That day, war ended. Peace began. The Sabines joined Rome. Two peoples became one. It was not a perfect story. It began with fear, but it ended with unity. Romulus learned something that day. A city is not strong because of walls or weapons. It is strong because of its people and the love they share. Let's follow him now as he becomes more than a builder. He becomes a king. Rome was no longer just a group of houses. It was a city, a real one, with roads, markets, temples, and families. And Romulus was no longer just a builder. He was a king. He made laws. He built an army. He chose leaders to help him rule. He listened to his people. He tried to be fair. Under his rule, Rome grew fast. People from many places came to live there. They brought their skills, their dreams, and their stories. Romulus walked the streets often. People greeted him with respect. But inside, he was quiet. He missed Remus. He missed his brother's laugh, his strong steps, his voice in the wind. Every night, Romulus looked at the stars. "Are you proud of me?" he whispered. "Do you see what we built?" He had power. He had fame. But part of his heart stayed in the past. His wife, Hercilia, stood by his side. She understood his silence. She reminded him, "You gave this city life. You gave us a future." Romulus nodded. But sometimes, when no one was looking, he sat alone. He thought about the day he drew that first line in the dirt, the day it all began. He knew Rome was strong, but he also knew life is short. Still, he kept working. He kept building. Because Rome was more than a place. It was a promise to protect, to grow, to believe. Let's follow Romulus one last time. As his story reaches its end, his legend begins. Years passed. Rome was strong. The people were happy. But Romulus had changed. His hair turned gray. His steps grew slow. He did not laugh much. He walked alone more often. One day, a storm came. The sky turned dark. Clouds moved fast. The wind was loud. Romulus stood on a hill, looking at his city. He did not speak. People watched from below. Then, lightning flashed. The wind grew stronger. And in that moment, Romulus disappeared. Some say he died. Some say the gods took him. Some say he became a god himself, Quirinus, the protector of Rome. No one knows for sure. But the people believed. They lit fires. They told stories. They remembered his words, his courage, his love for Rome. His wife, Hercilia, stood quietly. She looked up at the sky. "Goodbye," she whispered. "Thank you." Romulus was gone. But Rome remained. His wall was still there. His streets were still full of life. And his dream lived on. He started with nothing. He lost his brother. He faced pain and doubt. But he never gave up. That is why his story still lives today. Let's look at what came after and how the dream of one man became the legacy of an empire. After Romulus was gone, the city he built kept growing. Rome became more than a city. It became a name people knew across the world. Soldiers marched under its flag. Roads stretched across mountains and rivers. Buildings rose with stone and skill. New leaders came. Some were strong, some were weak. But the spirit of Rome stayed. People spoke Latin, the language of Rome. They studied law, order, and reason. They built baths, libraries, and schools. They wrote stories, made music, and asked big questions. But the true power of Rome was not in its size, it was in its idea. Rome was a place for many people from many lands. It welcomed the poor, the lost, the brave, just like Romulus once did. Even today, we still see Rome's touch. In words we speak, in roads we travel, in buildings we visit, in the laws we follow. A small line in the dirt became a symbol of strength. A wall of stones became a home for millions. Romulus was just one man, but his dream was big enough to last more than 1,000 years. And maybe that's what matters most, not how long we live, but what we leave behind. Let's take one more step and ask, what can we learn from this story today? The story of Romulus is not just about the past. It is also about today, about every person who dreams, who struggles, who begins again. Romulus and Remus started with nothing. No family, no power, no place to call home. But they survived. They learned. They made choices, some good, some painful. From them, we learn that the past does not decide who we are. Even if you were lost, left behind, or made to feel small, you can grow. You can build something strong. From their fight, we learn that pride can hurt, that even love between brothers can break when no one listens. But we also learn that pain can lead to new beginnings. From Rome, we learn that great things take time. That one wall can become a city. That one voice can lead many. And from Romulus, we learn that even one person with a dream can change the world. Maybe your dream is not to build a city. Maybe it's to learn a new language, to start a new job, to help someone, to believe in yourself again. Whatever it is, remember this: you don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Let's take this story with us, and see how it lives inside our own journey. Rome was not built in a day. It began with two brothers, with a river, with a wolf, with a wall drawn in the dirt. It grew with hope, with mistakes, with love and loss, and it became one of the most powerful empires in history. But the heart of this story is not just about kings or wars. It is about starting small, about standing up when the world says no, about building something even when you feel alone. Romulus lost much, but he never gave up. His city grew. His dream lived on. And maybe your dream can grow too. Every word you learn, every step you take, every time you try again, it all matters. Because like Rome, you are building something day by day, word by word. So if you're ready to keep going, keep learning, keep building, come with us to the next story. There's so much more waiting for you. And remember, every great thing begins with one small step. Just like Rome, just like you.